Captain Marcus Wellington adjusted his crimson uniform one final time before stepping into the grand entrance hall of Buckingham Palace. After 15 years of military service, he thought he had seen everything. The scars on his weathered hands told stories of battles in distant lands, but nothing had prepared him for what awaited him as the newly appointed head of the Royal Guard's Intelligence Division. The morning light filtered through the massive windows, casting long shadows across the marble floor as Marcus surveyed his domain. His team of 12 elite guards stood at attention, each handpicked for their exceptional observational skills and unwavering loyalty. These weren't ordinary palace guards who simply opened doors and stood ceremonially. They were trained intelligence operatives disguised as traditional guards, their real mission known only to a select few within the royal household. "Gentlemen," Marcus addressed his team, his voice echoing in the vast chamber. "From this moment forward, nothing happens in this palace without our knowledge. Every guest, every servant, every delivery person is to be observed and catalogued. The royal family's safety depends on our ability to see what others miss." What Marcus didn't realize was that within hours of taking his position, he would witness something that would challenge everything he believed about royal protocol and human nature. The first sign that this day would be different came when Lady Catherine Pemberton arrived for her scheduled afternoon tea with the Queen. Lady Catherine, a prominent socialite known for her charitable work and impeccable reputation, had been a regular visitor to the palace for over a decade. As she approached the main entrance, Guard Thompson noticed something unusual. Despite the warm spring weather, Lady Catherine wore thick gloves and kept one hand firmly pressed against her coat pocket. Her usual confident stride seemed slightly off, and she avoided making eye contact with the staff members who greeted her. Thompson immediately radioed the observation to Marcus, who positioned himself strategically to observe the lady's movements through the palace corridors. The Queen received Lady Catherine in the blue drawing room, as was customary for their monthly meetings. However, Guard Harrison, stationed discreetly behind a decorative pillar, noticed that Lady Catherine's conversation seemed forced and nervous. She kept glancing toward the windows and checking her pocket watch repeatedly, behavior completely unlike her usual composed demeanor during royal visits. Marcus found himself drawn into what seemed like an ordinary social call, but his instincts told him otherwise. Years of reading people in high-stress situations had taught him to trust these feelings. He quietly instructed his team to maintain heightened surveillance, without alerting anyone to their suspicions. The guards used their network of hidden cameras and strategically placed mirrors to track every movement in the drawing room, without being detected. As the afternoon progressed, Lady Catherine's nervousness became more apparent. She spilled tea on her dress, something she had never done in all her years of palace visits. When the Queen offered to have it cleaned, Lady Catherine declined hastily, claiming she needed to leave immediately for another appointment. This was particularly strange since her driver was scheduled to collect her an hour later, and she typically stayed for the full duration of these social calls. The most alarming moment came when Lady Catherine stood to leave. As she reached for her handbag, something small and metallic fell from her coat pocket and rolled across the Persian carpet. She quickly bent to retrieve it, but not before Guard Harrison caught a glimpse of what appeared to be some kind of electronic device. The speed with which Lady Catherine snatched up the object, and the look of panic that crossed her face confirmed Marcus's growing suspicions that this was no ordinary social visit. Marcus made a split-second decision that would change everything. Instead of confronting Lady Catherine immediately, he chose to let her leave while maintaining discreet surveillance. He wanted to understand the full scope of whatever was happening before taking action. This decision would prove to be crucial as the events that followed revealed a conspiracy that reached far beyond anything the royal guards had ever encountered. As Lady Catherine's car disappeared through the palace gates, Marcus gathered his team for an emergency briefing. The electronic device she had dropped was unlike anything they had seen before, and preliminary analysis suggested it was some form of sophisticated recording or tracking equipment. The realization that someone with such close access to the royal family might be involved in espionage sent shockwaves through the entire security apparatus. The guards reviewed hours of surveillance footage, looking for any previous signs they might have missed during Lady Catherine's earlier visits. What they discovered would lead them down a path of investigation that would expose secrets, test loyalties, and ultimately reveal that in the world of royal security, Appearances could be devastatingly deceiving. The woman they had all trusted without question was about to become the center of the most significant security breach in recent royal history. The investigation began immediately after Lady Catherine's departure. Marcus assembled his most trusted guards in the secure briefing room located 3 floors below the main palace. The room, soundproofed and equipped with the latest counter-surveillance technology, had witnessed many sensitive discussions, but none quite like this one. The walls were lined with monitors displaying feeds from cameras throughout the palace, creating an atmosphere of constant vigilance. Guard Thompson, who had first noticed Lady Catherine's unusual behavior, spread out printed photographs on the conference table. These images, captured by hidden cameras throughout her visit, told a disturbing story. In one photo, taken as she entered the blue drawing room, Lady Catherine's coat pocket showed a distinct rectangular bulge. Another image, captured moments after she had retrieved the fallen device, showed her hand trembling as she placed it back in her pocket. "Sir, I've been reviewing Lady Catherine's previous visits," reported Guard Harrison, pulling up digital files on his tablet. "Over the past 6 months, her behavior patterns have changed significantly. She used to arrive 15 minutes early and stay 30 minutes past the scheduled time. Recently, she's been arriving exactly on time and leaving early. Her conversation topics have also shifted from charity work to asking specific questions about palace routines and security procedures." Marcus studied the timeline Harrison had created. The pattern was undeniable once laid out chronologically. Lady Catherine had been gradually gathering intelligence about palace operations, disguising her inquiries as casual conversation. The Queen, trusting and gracious as always, had unknowingly provided detailed information about daily routines, upcoming events, and even security protocols during their friendly chats. The breakthrough came when the technical team analyzed the electronic device Lady Catherine had dropped. Sergeant Davis, the team's electronics specialist, entered the briefing room with his findings. His usually calm demeanor was replaced by visible concern as he connected his laptop to the main display screen. "Gentlemen, what we're dealing with here is military-grade surveillance equipment," Davis announced, his voice steady despite the gravity of his discovery. "This device is capable of recording conversations from up to 50 feet away and transmitting data in real time to an external location. The technology is so advanced that it's virtually undetectable by standard security sweeps." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. If Lady Catherine had been using this device during her visits, someone had been listening to private conversations between her and the Queen for months, possibly longer. The breach of privacy was staggering, but the potential security implications were even more serious. Marcus made the decision to expand the investigation beyond Lady Catherine herself. If she was working with others, they needed to identify the entire network before taking any action. He assigned Guard Williams to conduct a deep background check on Lady Catherine, looking for any recent changes in her financial situation, travel patterns, or personal associations. Meanwhile, Guard Bennett was tasked with reviewing all security footage from Lady Catherine's previous visits, searching for any accomplices or suspicious activities they might have missed. The work was painstaking, requiring frame-by-frame analysis of hours of footage, but it was essential to understanding the full scope of the operation. The first major discovery came from Williams's financial investigation. Lady Catherine's bank records, obtained through official channels, revealed several large deposits over the past 8 months. The money had been transferred from offshore accounts, making it difficult to trace the original source. More alarming was the discovery that she had recently purchased a small cottage in the Scottish Highlands, paying cash for a property worth considerably more than her known income could support. Bennett's review of the security footage yielded equally disturbing results. In recordings from 3 months earlier, he identified a man waiting in Lady Catherine's car during one of her visits. The individual had not been logged by security because he remained in the vehicle, but enhanced analysis of the footage revealed him using what appeared to be sophisticated communication equipment. Cross-referencing this with intelligence databases revealed the man to be Viktor Petrov, a known associate of Foreign Intelligence Services. The pieces of the puzzle were falling into place, but Marcus knew they needed more evidence before taking action. The decision was made to allow Lady Catherine to return for her next scheduled visit, while implementing enhanced surveillance measures. This would be their opportunity to catch her in the act and potentially identify other members of her network. The plan required perfect coordination among the guard team. They would need to appear completely normal, while secretly documenting every aspect of Lady Catherine's visit. Special recording equipment was installed in the blue drawing room, disguised as routine maintenance updates. Additional guards were positioned throughout the palace, each with specific observation assignments. As the date of Lady Catherine's next visit approached, tension within the guard unit reached its peak. They had spent weeks preparing for this moment, but they all understood that one mistake could compromise the entire investigation. Marcus reviewed the plan one final time with his team, emphasizing the importance of maintaining their cover while gathering the evidence they needed to expose what was clearly a sophisticated espionage operation targeting the heart of the British monarchy. The morning of Lady Catherine's scheduled return visit arrived with an unusual chill in the air. Marcus had barely slept, spending most of the night reviewing surveillance plans and contingency procedures with his team. Every guard knew their role perfectly, but the weight of what they were about to uncover pressed heavily on everyone's minds. The palace maintained its usual elegant atmosphere, but beneath the surface, a carefully orchestrated operation was about to unfold. At precisely 10:30 in the morning, Lady Catherine's black sedan pulled through the palace gates. Guard Thompson, positioned at the main entrance, immediately noticed differences in her appearance and behavior compared to previous visits. She wore a different style of coat, one with deeper pockets, and carried a larger handbag than usual. Her driver, instead of the familiar elderly gentleman who had accompanied her for years, was a younger man with sharp, alert eyes that seemed to scan the palace grounds with professional interest. Marcus watched from his command post as Lady Catherine made her way through the palace corridors. The hidden cameras captured every step of her journey, and the new recording equipment in the blue drawing room was functioning perfectly. What happened next would provide crucial evidence of the espionage operation they had been investigating. During her conversation with the Queen, Lady Catherine's questions became noticeably more specific and targeted. Instead of discussing charity events or social matters, she inquired about upcoming state dinners, the Queen's travel schedule, and details about security arrangements for visiting dignitaries. The Queen, ever gracious and trusting, provided information that should never have been shared outside the royal household's inner circle. Guard Harrison, monitoring the conversation through carefully placed listening devices, heard Lady Catherine ask about the location of private family quarters and the timing of the Queen's daily walks in the palace gardens. These questions went far beyond normal social curiosity and confirmed the guard's suspicions about her true intentions. The most damning evidence came when Lady Catherine excused herself to use the washroom. The journey from the blue drawing room to the nearest facilities required passing through several corridors lined with valuable artifacts and sensitive areas of the palace. Unknown to Lady Catherine, every step of this route was under intense surveillance. As she walked alone through the corridor, Lady Catherine's behavior changed dramatically. She moved with purpose, stopping at specific locations to photograph architectural details with a small professional-grade camera concealed in her coat. She paid particular attention to door locks, window configurations, and security camera positions. Most shocking of all, she attempted to access a restricted corridor that led to the royal family's private offices. Guard Bennett, following at a discreet distance, watched as Lady Catherine tried the handle of a door marked "Staff Only." When she found it locked, she produced a small electronic device and held it against the lock mechanism. The device, later identified as a sophisticated lock-picking tool, nearly succeeded in opening the door before Lady Catherine noticed Bennett approaching and quickly concealed the device. "Lost, ma'am?" Bennett asked politely, maintaining his cover as a helpful palace guard. "Oh yes, thank you," Lady Catherine replied, her voice slightly strained. "I was looking for the washroom and took a wrong turn." Bennett directed her to the correct location, while secretly photographing the lock-picking device she was attempting to hide in her coat. This single piece of evidence would later prove crucial in building the case against her and her associates. When Lady Catherine returned to continue her conversation with the Queen, the listening devices picked up something that sent chills through the entire guard team. During what appeared to be casual small talk, Lady Catherine made a phone call, claiming to update her driver about her departure time. However, the call was actually to an unknown number, and her coded language suggested she was reporting on the intelligence she had gathered. "The roses in the East Garden are blooming beautifully this time of year," she said into her phone. To anyone listening casually, this seemed like an innocent comment, but Marcus and his team recognized it as coded language, likely referring to security vulnerabilities or opportunities for access that she had identified during her reconnaissance mission. The technical team was simultaneously analyzing the electronic signals emanating from Lady Catherine's location. They detected multiple active devices on her person, including the sophisticated recording equipment they had identified previously, as well as what appeared to be a real-time communication system that was transmitting data to an external location throughout her visit. As Lady Catherine prepared to leave the palace, Marcus faced a critical decision. They now had substantial evidence of espionage activities, but arresting her immediately might prevent them from identifying the full extent of the network she was working with. The choice was made to continue surveillance while secretly following her movements after she left the palace grounds. Guard Davis was assigned to tail Lady Catherine's vehicle using an unmarked car equipped with tracking technology. What he discovered during this surveillance operation would reveal connections to an international espionage ring that reached far beyond anything they had initially imagined. The investigation was about to expand into a complex web of foreign intelligence operations, targeting not just the royal family, but the entire British government's highest levels of security. The evidence gathered during this single visit would eventually lead to one of the most significant counterintelligence operations in recent British history. But at this moment, Marcus and his team were just beginning to understand the true scope of the threat they had uncovered. Guard Davis followed Lady Catherine's sedan through the winding streets of London, maintaining a careful distance to avoid detection. His unmarked vehicle was equipped with the latest surveillance technology, allowing him to track her movements while remaining virtually invisible. What he witnessed during the next several hours would reveal the true extent of the conspiracy the royal guards had stumbled upon. Instead of heading toward her registered home address in Kensington, Lady Catherine's car made several unexpected stops throughout the city. The first stop was at a seemingly ordinary coffee shop in Bloomsbury, but Davis noticed that she didn't enter the establishment. Instead, she sat in her car for exactly 7 minutes before her driver handed a small package to a man who approached the vehicle. The exchange was brief and professional, suggesting a well-rehearsed routine. Davis managed to photograph the man receiving the package, later identified through facial recognition software as Dr. Alexander Kozlov, a cultural attaché at the Russian embassy, who was suspected of intelligence activities by MI5. This connection immediately elevated the investigation to a matter of national security, involving agencies far beyond the palace guard's typical jurisdiction. The second stop proved even more revealing. Lady Catherine's car pulled into the parking garage of an upscale hotel in Mayfair, where she finally exited the vehicle and walked to the elevator. Davis positioned himself strategically in the lobby, using a newspaper to conceal his surveillance activities while tracking her movements. Lady Catherine took the elevator to the 7th floor and knocked on the door of room 712. The door was opened by a woman with short blonde hair and sharp features, who quickly ushered Lady Catherine inside. Through careful observation and the use of specialized listening equipment, Davis was able to determine that a meeting was taking place involving at least 4 different individuals, speaking in multiple languages including Russian, German, and English. The conversation, though partially muffled by the hotel room's walls, contained fragments that Davis was able to record. References to the package delivery schedule, access points confirmed, and Phase 2 authorization suggested that Lady Catherine's activities at the palace were part of a much larger operation with multiple phases and participants. Back at the palace, Marcus was coordinating with higher authorities as the scope of the investigation expanded. MI5 had been notified of the situation, and a joint task force was being assembled to handle what was clearly an international espionage operation. The Royal Guard's careful documentation of Lady Catherine's activities had provided crucial evidence, but now the investigation required resources and expertise beyond their capabilities. The technical team made another disturbing discovery while analyzing the data: transmission patterns from Lady Catherine's surveillance equipment. The signals were not being sent to a single location, but rather to multiple receivers positioned throughout London. This suggested a sophisticated network of intelligence operatives, all coordinating to gather information about the royal family and palace security. Procedures. Sergeant Williams uncovered additional financial evidence that painted a clearer picture of Lady Catherine's recruitment and motivation. Bank records revealed that her financial situation had been deteriorating for over 2 years before the suspicious payments began. Her late husband's medical bills had depleted most of their savings, leaving her vulnerable to recruitment by foreign intelligence services who offered substantial compensation for her access to the royal household. The investigation revealed that Lady Catherine's recruitment had been a carefully planned operation. Her genuine friendship with several members of the royal household and her established reputation for charitable work made her the perfect asset for gathering intelligence. The foreign operatives had likely approached her during her most financially desperate period, offering not just money but also a sense of purpose and importance that appealed to her emotional vulnerabilities. Meanwhile, Guard Harrison discovered something equally troubling while reviewing older surveillance footage. Lady Catherine's suspicious activities had not been limited to recent visits. Going back over 18 months, subtle changes in her behavior patterns were evident, suggesting that her recruitment and training as an intelligence asset had been a gradual process. The foreign operatives had spent considerable time and resources developing her as a reliable source of information. The most shocking revelation came when the technical team decoded some of the data, transmissions from Lady Catherine's devices. The intelligence she had been gathering included detailed floor plans of the palace, schedules of royal family members, security protocols for visiting dignitaries, and even information about the personal habits and preferences of individual royals. This level of detailed intelligence could be used for various malicious purposes, from planning assassination attempts to coordinating sophisticated theft operations targeting priceless royal artifacts. As Davis continued his surveillance from the hotel lobby, he witnessed Lady Catherine's meeting conclude with what appeared to be the exchange of additional equipment and instructions for future operations. The woman who had admitted her to the room handed Lady Catherine a briefcase, while one of the men gave her what looked like a new electronic device, more advanced than anything she had been using previously. The realization that Lady Catherine was being equipped for expanded intelligence-gathering activities meant that immediate action was becoming necessary. The joint task force would need to decide quickly whether to arrest her and risk losing the opportunity to identify other network members, or to continue surveillance and risk allowing potentially dangerous intelligence to reach foreign handlers. As Lady Catherine's meeting ended and she prepared to leave the hotel, Marcus received word that authorization had been given for the next phase of the operation. The decision had been made to allow Lady Catherine one more palace visit, but this time, she would be walking into an elaborately planned trap that would expose the entire espionage network and bring this sophisticated operation to an end. The elaborate trap was set for Lady Catherine's final visit to Buckingham Palace. Marcus worked closely with MI5 agents and counterintelligence specialists to create an operation that would not only catch Lady Catherine in the act but also identify and neutralize the entire espionage network she was working with. Every detail had to be perfect, as they would have only one chance to execute the plan successfully. The palace was transformed into a sophisticated surveillance operations center while maintaining its normal appearance and daily routines. Additional agents disguised as maintenance workers, catering staff, and even tourists were positioned strategically throughout the building. The Queen herself had been briefed on the situation and agreed to participate in the operation, demonstrating remarkable courage and dedication to national security. Special equipment was installed in the blue drawing room that would allow the team to monitor not just Lady Catherine's activities but also any external communications from her handlers. Radio frequency jammers were positioned to prevent her from transmitting information in real time, while sophisticated recording devices would capture every word of her conversation with the Queen. The most clever aspect of the plan involved feeding Lady Catherine false information that could be tracked if it reached foreign intelligence services. The Queen would casually mention fictional security changes, imaginary state visits, and fabricated details about royal family schedules. If this disinformation appeared in foreign intelligence reports, It would confirm Lady Catherine's role as a spy and potentially reveal how the information was being transmitted to her handlers. On the morning of the operation, Lady Catherine arrived at the palace displaying signs of increased nervousness. The surveillance team immediately noticed that she was carrying even more sophisticated equipment than during previous visits. Her handbag appeared heavier and she wore a coat with unusually large pockets. Most telling of all, she was accompanied by the same driver who had appeared during her previous suspicious visit, confirming the team's suspicions about his involvement in the operation. As Lady Catherine made her way to the blue drawing room, every step was monitored by the combined surveillance team. Hidden cameras captured her stopping to examine security features she had previously photographed, while listening devices picked up her muttering what appeared to be technical specifications into a concealed microphone. The conversation with the Queen proceeded according to plan, with Her Majesty skillfully weaving the prepared disinformation into what seemed like casual conversation. Lady Catherine's reactions to each piece of false information were carefully monitored, and her obvious interest in specific details confirmed her intelligence-gathering mission. I do hope the weather improves for next week's garden party with the visiting Belgian delegation, the Queen mentioned casually, referring to an entirely fictional event. Lady Catherine immediately showed heightened interest, asking specific questions about timing, security arrangements, and which members of the royal family would be attending. The technical team monitoring the operation detected increased activity from Lady Catherine's concealed devices as she processed each piece of disinformation. Her equipment was not just recording the conversation, but actively transmitting summarized intelligence to external receivers, confirming that foreign handlers were receiving real-time updates on her intelligence-gathering activities. The trap was sprung when Lady Catherine excused herself for another unauthorized exploration of the palace corridors. This time, however, her route had been carefully planned by the surveillance team to lead her directly into the most sensitive area of the operation. As she approached the corridor, housing the royal family's private offices, she was met by what appeared to be routine renovation work. Workmen, actually MI5 agents in disguise, had created a scenario that would require Lady Catherine to wait in a specific location while they moved equipment. During this brief delay, she was positioned directly in front of concealed cameras and listening devices that would capture her most incriminating actions. Unable to resist the opportunity, Lady Catherine used the delay to photograph restricted areas and attempt to access secure doors using her sophisticated lock-picking equipment. Unknown to her, every action was being recorded in high definition, providing irrefutable evidence of her espionage activities. The technical breakthrough came when the surveillance team successfully intercepted and decoded her real-time transmissions to foreign handlers. The messages revealed not just the intelligence she was gathering, but also detailed instructions from her controllers about specific information they wanted her to obtain. The communications confirmed connections to multiple foreign intelligence services and revealed that the operation was far more extensive than initially suspected. The most shocking discovery was the revelation that Lady Catherine was not the only palace insider involved in the espionage network. Her transmissions referenced other sources within the royal household, suggesting that the foreign operatives had recruited multiple assets with access to different areas and types of sensitive information. As Lady Catherine concluded her visit and prepared to leave the palace, she had unknowingly provided the authorities with everything they needed to dismantle the entire operation. Her handlers, believing the mission was proceeding smoothly, continued sending instructions and coordinating with other network members, unaware that every communication was being monitored and traced. The moment Lady Catherine's car left the palace grounds, a coordinated operation involving multiple law enforcement agencies began simultaneously across London. Arrest teams moved against known associates, surveillance locations were raided, and communication intercepts were implemented to prevent the network from destroying evidence or escaping justice. Marcus and his team watched from the palace command center as the operation they had initiated through careful observation and professional instincts culminated in one of the most successful counterintelligence operations in recent British history. The Royal Guard's attention to detail and willingness to trust their suspicions had prevented a serious breach of national security. and protected the royal family from potentially devastating exposure. The coordinated arrests began at exactly 3:15 in the afternoon, just as Lady Catherine's car reached the first safe house location where she was scheduled to meet her handlers. MI5 agents working with local police and counter-terrorism units executed simultaneous raids across 12 locations throughout London and the surrounding areas. The operation, codenamed Royal Shield, represented months of careful planning condensed into a few crucial hours of coordinated action. Lady Catherine was apprehended as she entered the Mayfair Hotel where she had met with her foreign controllers during previous visits. The arrest team, led by Detective Inspector Sarah Mitchell, surrounded her before she could access any communication devices or warn her associates. Her immediate reaction of shock and denial quickly gave way to resigned acceptance as she realized the extent of her surveillance and the futility of maintaining her cover. The search of Lady Catherine's person and belongings yielded a treasure trove of espionage equipment that exceeded even the intelligence team's expectations. In addition to the sophisticated recording and transmission devices they had already identified, she was carrying encrypted hard drives containing detailed palace floor plans, photographs of security installations, and comprehensive profiles of royal family members and their daily routines. Most disturbing was the discovery of what appeared to be assassination planning materials, including detailed studies of the Queen's walking routes in the palace gardens, timing charts of when she was most vulnerable, and technical specifications for weapons that could penetrate royal protection services. This evidence transformed the case from simple espionage to potential terrorism charges, significantly increasing the severity of the situation. Meanwhile, raids at other locations were revealing the true scope of the international network. At the Russian Cultural Center, agents discovered a sophisticated communication hub with direct links to Moscow intelligence services. The facility contained detailed dossiers on British government officials, members of parliament, and other high-value intelligence targets beyond the royal family. The arrest of Dr. Alexander Kozlov, the cultural attaché who had received packages from Lady Catherine, led to the discovery of additional intelligence assets throughout London's diplomatic community. His encrypted communications revealed coordination between Russian, Chinese, and North Korean intelligence services, suggesting that Lady Catherine's operation was part of a much larger collaborative effort to penetrate British national security. Back at the palace, Marcus and his team were processing the evidence they had gathered during months of careful surveillance. The recordings of Lady Catherine's conversations with the Queen, combined with the intercepted communications with her foreign handlers, provided prosecutors with an overwhelming case that would likely result in life imprisonment for treason and espionage charges. The technical analysis of Lady Catherine's equipment revealed sophisticated technology that had never been seen before in British counterintelligence operations. The devices were capable of not just recording and transmitting audio and visual information, but also hacking into electronic systems, accessing encrypted communications, and even interfering with security equipment. The implications for national security were staggering. Guard Thompson, who had first noticed Lady Catherine's suspicious behavior, was called to provide testimony about his initial observations. His detailed notes and professional instincts had been the foundation upon which the entire investigation was built. The recognition of his contribution would later result in commendations from the highest levels of government, though the classified nature of the operation meant that public acknowledgement would never be possible. The interrogation of Lady Catherine provided crucial insights into how foreign intelligence services target and recruit assets within British society. Her handlers had identified her financial vulnerabilities and emotional needs, gradually drawing her into increasingly serious intelligence activities over a period of nearly 2 years. The psychological manipulation techniques used in her recruitment became the subject of intensive study by counterintelligence specialists. Perhaps most shocking was Lady Catherine's revelation that she had been promised extraction to a foreign country once her mission was completed. She genuinely believed that her intelligence activities would result in a comfortable new life abroad, funded by grateful foreign governments. The reality that she had been considered expendable by her handlers came as a devastating blow during her interrogation sessions. The international diplomatic implications of the operation's success were significant. The British government presented evidence of the espionage network to the United Nations Security Council, resulting in formal protests against the countries involved in the expulsion of numerous diplomatic personnel who had been operating under intelligence cover. The palace itself underwent a comprehensive security review as a result of the investigation. New protocols were implemented for visitors, staff underwent additional security training, and technological upgrades were installed to prevent similar intelligence-gathering activities in the future. The royal family's daily routines were modified to eliminate the predictable patterns that had made them vulnerable to surveillance. Most importantly, the investigation revealed that Lady Catherine had not been working alone within the palace community. 2 additional staff members, a catering supervisor and a maintenance worker, were identified as foreign intelligence assets. Their arrests rounded out the dismantling of the network and ensured that no remaining security vulnerabilities existed. Within the royal household, the success of Operation Royal Shield became a model for future counterintelligence operations, demonstrating the importance of combining traditional observation skills with modern surveillance technology. Marcus and his team had proven that careful attention to behavioral details could uncover even the most sophisticated espionage operations. 6 months after the conclusion of Operation Royal Shield, the full impact of the Royal Guard's vigilance became clear through the trials and subsequent intelligence assessments. Lady Catherine Pemberton was sentenced to 25 years in prison for treason, espionage, and conspiracy charges. Her case became a landmark prosecution that strengthened Britain's counterintelligence capabilities and served as a deterrent to future foreign recruitment operations. The trial revealed details that shocked even experienced intelligence professionals. Lady Catherine had been systematically gathering intelligence for nearly 3 years, far longer than initially suspected. Her handlers had provided her with increasingly sophisticated equipment, as her access to sensitive information proved valuable. The total intelligence package she had transmitted to foreign services included detailed information about state visit security arrangements, personal information about royal family members, and comprehensive assessments of palace vulnerability points. Captain Marcus Wellington received the Distinguished Service Order in a private ceremony attended by senior government officials and members of the royal family. The Queen personally thanked him for his team's professionalism and dedication, noting that their careful observations had prevented what could have been a catastrophic security breach. The ceremony remained classified, but Marcus treasured the recognition from the sovereign he had sworn to protect. Guard Thompson, whose initial observations had triggered the entire investigation, was promoted to sergeant and became the lead instructor for a new training program focused on behavioral analysis and threat detection. His experience taught other security personnel to trust their instincts and recognize subtle signs that might indicate hostile surveillance or intelligence-gathering activities. The palace security upgrades implemented after the investigation created a new standard for royal protection that was adopted by security services worldwide. Advanced electronic countermeasures, improved visitor screening procedures, and enhanced staff vetting protocols eliminated many of the vulnerabilities that Lady Catherine had exploited during her espionage activities. The international implications of the case continued to unfold throughout the following year. The exposed espionage network led to similar investigations in other European countries, revealing that the operation against the British royal family was part of a coordinated campaign targeting multiple constitutional monarchies and democratic governments. Counterintelligence agencies across Europe shared information and techniques developed during Operation Royal Shield. Dr. Alexander Kozlov and several other diplomatic personnel were declared persona non grata and expelled from Britain. The diplomatic facilities they had used for intelligence coordination were closed, and new restrictions were placed on the activities of foreign cultural and trade missions operating in London. These measures significantly reduced the operational capabilities of foreign intelligence services targeting British interests. The 2 additional palace staff members who had been recruited as intelligence assets received shorter sentences in exchange for their cooperation with authorities. Their testimonies provided valuable insights into the recruitment techniques and operational methods used by foreign intelligence services. This information was incorporated into security awareness training programs for government employees with access to sensitive information. The psychological impact on the palace community was significant, but ultimately strengthening. Staff members who had worked closely with Lady Catherine struggled with feelings of betrayal and self-doubt about their ability to recognize threats. However, the comprehensive security review and additional training programs helped restore confidence and created a more security-conscious culture throughout the royal household. Marcus implemented new protocols that balanced security concerns with the palace's traditional openness and accessibility. Regular visitors underwent more thorough background checks, while maintaining the welcoming atmosphere that was essential to the royal family's public role. The challenge was protecting against sophisticated threats while preserving the institution's connection to the British people. The case study of Lady Catherine's recruitment and operation became required reading at intelligence training academies worldwide. Her progression from trusted friend to dangerous spy illustrated the patient, methodical approach used by foreign intelligence services to develop high-value assets. The psychological vulnerabilities that made her susceptible to recruitment became the subject of extensive research and training programs. 5 years later, as Marcus reviewed the case files one final time before their transfer to permanent archives, he reflected on how profoundly the investigation had changed both his perspective on security and the entire approach to royal protection. The woman who had seemed like the most trustworthy visitor to the palace had proven to be its greatest threat, a lesson that would influence security protocols for generations to come. The legacy of Operation Royal Shield extended far beyond the immediate arrests and convictions. Intelligence agencies worldwide studied the case as an example of how traditional observation skills, when combined with modern technology and interagency cooperation, could defeat even the most sophisticated espionage operations. The techniques developed during the investigation became standard training materials for security personnel protecting high-value targets globally. The Queen, in one of her final conversations with Marcus before his retirement, expressed profound gratitude for his team's dedication and professionalism. She noted that the experience had reinforced her faith in the people sworn to protect the monarchy, even as it revealed the persistent threats facing the institution. Her calm response to learning about Lady Catherine's betrayal had impressed everyone involved in the investigation and demonstrated the strength of character that made her an effective sovereign. Marcus's final report on the case emphasized the importance of trusting professional instincts while maintaining rigorous investigative procedures. Thompson's initial observation of Lady Catherine's unusual behavior had been the crucial first step, but the successful resolution required months of careful evidence gathering, technological analysis, and coordination with multiple agencies. The case proved that effective security required both human intuition and systematic investigation. The Royal Guards who participated in Operation Royal Shield continued their careers with enhanced reputations and valuable experience in counterintelligence operations. Several were recruited by MI5 and other agencies, where their unique combination of palace security experience and advanced surveillance training made them highly valued professionals. Their success demonstrated that traditional guard duties could develop skills applicable to the most sophisticated security challenges. The physical security upgrades implemented at the palace after the investigation remained largely invisible to visitors but significantly enhanced protection for the royal family. Advanced detection systems, improved communication networks, and enhanced visitor screening procedures created multiple layers of security that would be much more difficult for future intelligence operations to penetrate. Perhaps most importantly, the case established new standards for background investigations of individuals with regular access to sensitive locations and information. The thorough review process that might have detected Lady Catherine's financial vulnerabilities and foreign contacts became a model for security screening worldwide, potentially preventing countless similar operations from succeeding in the future. As Marcus packed away the last of the classified documents, he smiled at the memory of Thompson's nervous report about a distinguished lady wearing gloves on a warm day. That single observation, combined with the vigilance and professionalism of his entire team, had protected not just the royal family but the security interests of the entire nation. Nothing had escaped the Royal Guard's eyes, and their unforgettable reactions had proven that even in an age of advanced technology, careful human observation remained the foundation of effective security. The case would be remembered as a triumph of traditional guardianship, enhanced by modern investigative techniques, setting a new standard for royal protection that would endure for decades to come.